Boom, 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 boom. She rocks. All right, everybody. I'm just being a little silly here. Welcome to my channel. This is Motu Joneser. And like our previous video we did before with Masterverse New Eternia He-Man, we are going to dive into the Princess of Power herself, She-Ra. What's up, everybody? It's Joneser, your favorite comic book guy. So let's do this! Alright, if you'd like to see more Masters of the Universe content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you will not miss anything going forward. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking on the like button. Now, not only does it help this channel, but it will also help you in your YouTube feed. YouTube will be able to bring forth more videos into your feed that you enjoy. Now let's start at the beginning. That is The Secret of the Sword. This came out in March 1985. My sister was like 3, and I was like 5. I pity the fool to go and mess around with Joneser's Mr. T action figure doll. Anyway, as the show starts, you have Hordak kidnapping a baby, and it's from the sorceress's nightmare. She wakes up from the nightmare because this sword starts flashing and like wakes her up. And she screams Adora as she wakes up from the nightmare. So we're all left kind of wondering like what's going on or what's this all about. So of course, predictably, she asks Adam and Cringer to come, and she sends them on a mission. Says, you need to find the person that this sword belongs to. Now, of course, she leaves out some details here and doesn't exactly tell him exactly what's going on, which is typical sorceress fare. Anyway, Adam doesn't take long to get into trouble when he lands on Etheria, and he saves some people. He even meets some colorful characters here and manages to save the day without turning into He-Man with this guy's help. It was pretty impressive. And then the ruling figures of this land did not exactly take kindly to what had happened, so they decided to send what is called a force squad out to capture the rebels. And that is the first time we get a look at the Force Captain, Adora, who in her first time out actually manages to defeat the rebels, and they capture He-Man, which is equally impressive. You know, I mean, I couldn't believe that. Wow. Now that was something. Now, my sister and I, we were like pretty engaged in this. You know, this show was definitely unlike any episode of He-Man we had ever seen before. You know, and we just couldn't wait to see where this thing was going next. Now, He-Man is eventually rescued by the Great Rebellion, and he decides that he must seek her out, you know, and the sword indicated it belonged to her, and he puts on like the worst disguise ever. I mean, check that out. Anyway, it's not long later, he's captured again, you know, and put back into some kind of energy prison cell. And Adora begins to kind of question what's going on here. But it's kind of shown that Shadow Weaver has been kind of using magic to control her mind. One of the more memorable parts of this sequence is when she comes to interrogate He-Man in his prison cell, and she exclaims that she feels the sword was meant for her hand. And He-Man explains to her, I thought that it was. And she says, well, now that you don't. And he says, that sword was for someone that was to serve the forces of good, and you serve the forces of evil. So Adora travels the land, and she finds that she is not fighting for the side of good. That actually she has had a hand in helping Hordak enslave this planet, and it's not in the best interests of the people. So I guess when you're raised by a supervillain, your worldview is just a little screwed up. but now that she's seen it for herself, she's going to have to right this wrong. So He-Man eventually succumbs to the energy-sucking machine there, much to Adora's horror. But once you know, that sneaky sorceress there, she finally shows up and reveals not to despair and gives us all the details. That Adora is actually Princess Adora, and she is a member of the Eternian royal family. She was kidnapped by Hordak when she was just a baby. And you know what? He had some help, too. That's right. Skeletor was an original member of the Horde, and he helped this happen, And then we eventually got the magic moment my sister and I were waiting for. For the honor of Grayskull! I am She-Ra! And we were just happy as little clams. And She-Ra wasted no time in rescuing her brother from the prison and just showing all her heroic feats. She also has a unicorn. That's right. The girl hero rides a unicorn into battle. A rainbow unicorn, which I can't think of anything more fitting for a girl superhero. And that thing made for a great toy. And yeah, that's right. I played with She-Ra toys with my sister. Go ahead, have your laughs. It was kind of fun. It was like we got to share little pieces of ourselves with each other, She was into the She-Ra stuff and I was into the He-Man stuff, and they actually kind of went together. And that Crystal Castle was cool, Yeah, it had like accessories made for a girl, but it also had the comic books with the toys. And yeah, it didn't surprise me much that the story in the comic books was a little bit different. And the She-Ra wore a mask in it sometimes. I'll explain more on that later. And that Catra was actually the villain, more or less, in the She-Ra comics, not Hordak, which was a little bit different. And also Mattel busted out another old trope, whereas Bo, in his action figure, had no mustache, and in the cartoon wore a mustache. What the heck, Mattel? Well, anyway, they did a Christmas special, and it actually wasn't that bad. I had a lot of good memories watching it. It has some cool moments, and some characters that didn't really appear much in the series appeared in that. And you get to see He-Man play Santa Claus, which is pretty funny. I'll give you a quick story synopsis. Basically, Orko's messing around, and there's some Earth children that end up in trouble, and then someone needs to rescue them. And who better to rescue them than Skeletor? That's right, Skeletor, the hero of Eternia. Nah, I'm joking. He got infested with the spirit of Christmas, and something was wrong with him. He originally set out to hurt the kids or to turn them into Horde Prime, but just something happened where the old Grinch grew a heart that day. It's actually pretty funny. You should watch it just for that. Well, then it was all over. He-Man went away, and he came back in early 2000, but She-Ra did not come back with him. Now, I was told that the next season of 2000X He-Man was going to introduce She-Ra. The Horde had already been kind of introduced, but it was just not to be. So we never did get what 2000X She-Ra might have looked like. Well, DC Comics decided to do a run with She-Ra, and it actually wasn't bad. I kind of forgot to touch on DC Comics' He-Man run on my previous video, but, She-Ra, the story was similar, only she really took to that, taking on the image of Hordak. They introduced the character Despera, which was a lot of fun, and it was just kind of a different take of how She-Ra becomes She-Ra, but, yeah, she eventually realizes that she's on the side of good, probably a little after she slits He-Man's throat, And, but we still get that magical moment there where She-Ra lifts the power sword, and for the honor of Grayskull, and there she is again in the DC Comics version. And I really enjoyed their take on it. I have the entire series on graphic novel, and you guys should probably check it out. It wasn't bad. Well, some of it wasn't. But anyway, we're going to have to cue the angry old man yelling at Cloud, because here comes Netflix's She-Ra. And boy, oh boy, Netflix's She-Ra kind of had mixed reviews. You know, a lot of the older fans kind of criticized it for its different look on She-Ra. And, you know, looking back on what Netflix did with the CGI He-Man, I can kind of see, you know, that they were going for the younger audience. And the show was a little more focused on Catra and She-Ra, like the mini comics. It was kind of focused on their friendship, I guess. And, you know, for me, it just wasn't for me. And, yeah, I'll take the She-Ra on the left 9 times out of 10. Well, and now that brings us to right here with this toy, the She-Ra Princess of Power Deluxe from the Masterverse. And we are going to open this baby up. Well, here's She-Ra in her box and looking with all the deluxe accessories we got here. The box art on the back looking awesome. And here's the side view there of She-Ra raising the power sword. And let's get her out. And there she is out of the box, and she is looking snazzy. I really like that you can get her in her iconic look with the short cape and the little Eye of the Power pose. And yeah, she's pretty awesome. I'm very happy with the figure indeed. And here she is in her alternate look, you know, which I really much enjoy. I think she actually looks pretty cool like this, which is funny for me. I'm usually the traditionalist, but here it looks like this awesome, you know, Spartan-style gladiator woman, like ready to do battle. So, yeah, that is our She-Ra. And we'll compare her here to the Origins figure because I don't really have a vintage one. Didn't hold on to it. And I wanted to quick touch up on the mask here, as I said I would. Mattel originally meant for She-Ra to be displayed like this and played with like this. But of course, in the test groups, all the little girls flipped it around because I want to see her pretty face. And I think that's just kind of funny that, you know, that ended up being the look and it was a complete accident. Well, for my money, I prefer this look, but that's just me. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review and enjoyed checking out these figures. And if you like more, we got Masterverse New Eternia Skeletor coming and the Princess of Power Hordak. They'll both be in this style where I do a little more of the explaining who these characters are and where they come from, and a little less of an action figure review. So until next time.